guys, welcome back to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve and it's finally here! My Bandai Tamashii Nation SH MonsterArts Godzilla 2014. And if you guys haven't noticed, I've changed the lighting a little bit for this review. And if you guys could chime down in the comments after you guys watch the video, if you guys think it's better than how I had it previously set, really would appreciate it. But I've been foaming at the mouth to do this review, especially after seeing Diego Doom's and Rich's review of this figure. And if you guys haven't checked it out after watching this video, you probably should go look at it just to get a few more opinions. Of some links in the description below. But this is a figure I've been really excited to do the review for, more so than actually getting the figure in. Which is weird because usually I'm more excited about getting the figure in, the review is just kind of like a secondary side note. But I've been really looking forward to comparing this one to the 12-inch long version. So that's how I'm going to be setting this up, where I'll go over the figure briefly for you guys, and then I'll compare it to the 12-inch long Godzilla from NECA. Just to give you guys a rough estimate of which figure you're going to want to be getting between the two. And I'll give you my overall 2 cents in which Godzilla 2014 figure I think is overall the best right now. But that comes later. So for the packaging, I really love the way they got the Godzilla displayed on the front of this. It's a really awesome pose for the figure from inside the packaging, where it has this really awesome menacing look. It's part of the 60th anniversary, 2014. Really love how they do the slash packaging for this. Especially you can see on the top, looks really awesome and gives you a nice clear view of the figure on the inside. On the side, another rory pose, more of the slashes. This side, even more slashes with Godzilla 2014. On the back, has him in a lot of really awesome dynamic poses and just shows you overall what you can expect to do with the figure here. On the bottom, don't really know what that says. On the bottom of the official packaging, just a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo, and I have it upside down. And that's pretty much it for the box. Let's get him opened up out of his cardboard prison. And here he is out of his prison, and first we're going to go over his accessory that he doesn't have, which I really would have loved to have seen some kind of effects piece for his breath effect that he does in the film. Because the only other ones that I really have right now for the SH MonsterArts line is the High Seas Godzilla to really go with this guy. And his breath effect isn't going to work very well with this. And it just would have been really nice to have seen some other kind of accessory to come with him. But they are actually releasing effects pieces at the end of the month. So I'm really actually looking forward to getting those in, and I'll be doing a review of those as well. And seeing how it actually works with this figure. But we'll get into the figure, which looks really good. Overall, really love the way the details came out on the scales here. Really love the hard edges on here. And it's really nice. It's something that we haven't seen with any of the other Godzilla 2014s that have been released. And the head sculpt on here, actually on mine, because I noticed some reviewers have been complaining a lot that they've been getting derpy eyes, with one eye would be fairly lazy while the other one would be looking fairly straight. And mine actually are fairly good. So I guess I'm one of the really lucky ones that got a fairly normal looking sculpt, at least on the eye portion. My teeth on mine are still a little bit fudged up. They're not perfect. It's mainly up here is where it gets really bad. But it kind of gives them a little bit more of a gnarly look, so I'll let it pass. It's not too bad. One thing that's kind of weird though is he's got a little bit of red paint on the front of his nose and a little bit on his chin. Kind of looks like he's been eating like strawberry jam or something, so that's a little bit of an odd look for him. But it helps with the gnarliness, like maybe he's been munching on some Mudos or something. Especially with the tongue sculpt on the inside, looks really nice as well. Really love the blood red paint on the inside. Like the tongue looks really sweet. It's got a nice gloss to it. And one thing that's actually really weird, and I'm bringing in my little screwdriver for a second, is that the tongue actually has articulation. So you can actually pose it any way you want it. You're going up and down, and you can move left and right. So that's actually a little bit neat. I don't know why it's necessary, but it's neat nonetheless. Gives you some extra posability options if you want. And then moving to the dorsal fins, look really gnarly. Also, one thing to point out is these are actually really pointy and sharp, so just be a little bit careful when having this around kids. But really love the details that are on here. And it helps that these are actually really hard plastic, and something I really actually like personally. Because with the NECA one, it is the soft kind of pliable plastic, and they just didn't really look quite as good as they do on this guy. So that's something that's actually a big improvement for me anyways. And then for the body here, really love the details on it. It's kind of neat too because the way his body is, the coloring for it is a charcoal color, while his tummy region is actually more of like a camouflage, kind of like lime green little wash over the top of it. And you can see coming down here too, it's on his inner thighs, and then coming down his tail. And especially like right here, you can see the coloring. And it gives him a little bit of variety, and I really love the attention to detail on that. His arms look really good, very dragon-like. Then for his legs, not too bad. The thing that's a little bit odd, especially with the posability, is he has a lot of gapping here on the legs. You can fix it by adjusting the plastic here, but it's just it takes a little bit of play to get everything situated to look a little normal. So that's just one thing to point out. It's kind of bad here on the legs. Right here up on the tail, it does it as well. And then up here, where the dorsal fin section is, there's a decent amount of gapping here as well. And you can see here, there's a little bit of spine to try to help cover that up, but kind of, to me, it kind of looks like old man pants. It's just a weird look for me, but it helps a lot with the articulation. And then, I'll go over that in a second. But the tail here looks really nice as well. Really love the way it just kind of has these nice segmented sections, and then it just ends up with a more whip-like tail at the end. Looks really good. Alright, for his articulation, his head can look up, down, side to side. Really nice range of motion there. His body, really nice abdominal crunch. Can also turn side to side as well. Really nice range of motion there. His arms can move up a little bit. It takes a little bit of play to get to move around, but can rotate all around. Nice range of motion. His elbow has a double joint to it. Really good play there. Also has a rotation here at both joints at the elbow. His hand's on a ball joint. Can rotate around. A little bit of play to it. It's really good. Alright, for his legs, they can move out about that far. You can see there's a little bit of gapping there. You just got to play with it to get it exactly how you want it. Move in about that far. His leg can go all the way around. Has a nice bend at the knee. Also a little bit of rotation here because these are all in little ball joints. And for his feet, really nice bend and pivot to them. Really good range of motion on there. And then for his tail, just pretty much your standard SH MonsterArts fare. Really awesome range of motion. Love the way it bends and moves up and down. Because each of these little sections are their own little ball joints. And it even comes up to here is where the joint stops for the tail. So you can get the nice whip-like effect. One thing to point out though is on mine, his tail pops off really easy. It's really easy to get back on, but just something just to give you a little guys heads up. So to me, this figure actually looks really good. But let's get them compared next to the NECA 12-inch long version and see how they stack up. So now that I got the NECA 12-inch long version, I'm going to be going over this in 3 sections, which is going to be movie accurateness, design, and overall playability. So first we're going to go over the movie accurateness, which I'm going to have to give it to the NECA version of the Legendary Godzilla. Because this guy just looks so good next to the actual film version of Godzilla. Looks very nice in the way he looks in the film. While the SH MonsterArts version gives the overall same appeal, but they changed a little bit of things on this version to make them more different and unique to the SH MonsterArts line. And first you can see here, the head on him looks really good, really nice and screen accurate. It's a little bit shorter on the snout. My only major complaint with the head for this guy was that it needed a little bit more detail to it, and the teeth could have used a little bit more paint. But that being said, this guy still had the same teeth problem. And overall, his head is definitely the larger between the two, which is something I would see more akin to the actual Toho Godzillas. As you can see, especially looking at him side by side, his head's definitely the larger of the two. Which is something to actually point out between the two figures, because what's kind of funny to me is that this is the American version of the toy, while the Japanese, more inspired version is the larger of the two. So, yeah, take that how you want. And then another thing too is that the way the feet are designed, his is movie accurate, kind of more what I like to call elephantish looking, while his is definitely a lot larger. His toes actually stick out a little bit farther and is more akin to something I would see with like a dude in suit kind of look. So again, something more akin to what Toho would be doing. And then overall stature, again, NECA one just overall has the right vibe going on for me. Well, this guy is definitely more upright initially. You can pose him to get him into the same stance, but it just looks a little bit more odd to me. But you still can get it into it, but initially when I got out of the package, it just kind of looked like how every other Godzilla looks, and just kind of upright in the way some dude be standing inside of it. So it's really nice that for the SH MonsterArts version that it is different between this, because with all the other Godzilla 2014 stuff I've reviewed, he's definitely the most original looking of them, because most of them fairly look the same, have the same stature, same looks. It's just overall how much detail they got going on between them. And it's really nice that he has a nice differentiation between all the other ones. So I gotta give it to the NECA one for overall screen accurateness. So next, I'm going to go over the overall design, which I'm actually going to give it to the SH MonsterArts version. Even though surprisingly, this guy's screen accurate, but this thing just looks so good with the overall amount of details on him. So I really love the hard edges. Some of the changes I actually really don't mind, like the way the feet are elongated looks actually pretty good, especially with the way that he's been designed just to be a larger kaiju. Especially with the larger head and the overall girth, it makes sense to increase the way the size of the feet are. And just the way the spines are, I really love the hard edges. And he just looks really menacing. Well, this one, the details are still really good, but the gloss on the scales here kind of give him more of an amphibian look. And it was something, it didn't really bother me initially, and still doesn't really bother me now. But compared next to the other ones, I like the way that this one turned out a little better. Just with the more flat paint job, just looks really nice on this guy. And if it was on this figure, I imagine this figure would look really nice as well. So I gotta give it to the SH MonsterArts version, which actually really helps with the overall play factor too, which is what I'll go into next. Because with all his segmented joints, he gets a lot of range of motion and posability, so he works really good with all the other figures. And also with the, if you're planning on hoping that somebody's going to be releasing Mutos, it's more likely that they're going to be releasing for the SH MonsterArts line than the NECA version. Because NECA pretty much stated they're only going to be pretty much sticking with Godzilla figures from here on out, so the likelihood of Mutos coming out is just kind of non-existent at this point. So it gives a lot more of a nod to the SH MonsterArts version, because if they're going to be releasing the SH versions, you're going to want the figure to go with it. But that being said, with him looking more screen accurate, I really would love to see what he would look like next to those Mutos, and if they would be changing them to match more of this version or trying to be screen accurate. But I still think he would look really good with those, and this one actually still works really well with a lot of the other SH MonsterArts and overall posability factor, because they're both going to be the same height. They both can look up just as far. The arms can move out just as far. And overall, the way the legs are, like, he can't spread his legs out that far, but I don't know if it's really necessary all that much. Even though it works really well with him, because he's just a larger looking kaiju, so he needs a little bit more of a stance. And then, even with the tails, moving that guy is about as far as it can go over that way. Moving that guy is about as far as it can go that way. Having him tip over because he's drunk. It's still overall, like, they get about the same posability. So, overall play factor, even though the SH MonsterArts definitely has a lot more of the ball joints on him, that really help to give him a lot of range of motion and also give him a clean look, he still has a lot of posability too and a lot of the same movements. It just doesn't look quite as clean on him, but it still works fairly well for display purposes. So in terms of play value, I actually am going to they are pretty much on par with me at this point. And they both work still very well in your collection. Even though it would appear that he would be the better choice, they still work out fairly well together. So if I had to choose between the two, I would say if you don't already own the NECA version and you have a little bit of money to spend, the SH MonsterArts version is definitely the way I would go. I really love the way the sculpt turned out, and even though it's not quite movie accurate, you can still get it into the overall pose that it had in the film. And I really love the posability factor of the figure, and it looks really good with all the other SH MonsterArts figure, and I'll show some comparisons in a few. That being said, if you already own the NECA figure or have a low budget, I definitely think this is probably the way to go then, because this guy being at about $18 and this guy was more closer to $68, he's definitely the more pocket-friendly of the two. And overall, he still looks really good with all the other SH MonsterArts figure. And if you guys haven't seen it, I already done a review of this guy and showing some comparisons with him. Still poses really well. And to me, the SH MonsterArts version just doesn't really replace it in my collection. But I still really enjoy that the SH MonsterArts version is a different variant of the character. And for someone like me, I really love having different things like that in my collection. So that would be the only real reason if you have this guy to invest in the SH MonsterArts version. Now, if I actually had to pick one legendary Godzilla to have in my collection, I would personally go with the NECA 24-inch long version of the character, with it being a very large Godzilla with it overall standing at about 12 inches tall. It's a very massive figure and overall has a lot of really nice details. The overall articulation is very nice and reminiscent of the 12-inch long version, while also having the segmented tail more akin to the SH MonsterArts line. So the posability factor on the character is amazing. And it also comes with the sound effects, which wasn't really the highlight of the figure, but it's nice that it comes with it. And for the price, I know right now I see these figures standing at about the same price, but initially when I picked him up, he was the cheaper of the figures, and which is just crazy to me that this guy was, when I picked him up, less than 60 bucks, while he is $68. So for me, in terms of value, it just seems right to go with the 24-inch tall version. And if you aren't planning on getting the Mutos or any other accessories to really go with the 2014 version, this is definitely the way to go. And for some quick comparison, here he is compared next to all the other SH MonsterArts Godzillas in my collection with the 2000 Millennium, the 64, and the High Seas version. And here he is with the monsters that have been spoiled for his next movies with the SH MonsterArts Mothra, Fire Rodan, and King Ghidorah. And here he is compared next to the SH MonsterArts Biollante, which this needs to be a movie so bad. And here he is compared next to some of the American Bandai releases with the Atomic Breath Godzilla, the Smash Attack, and the Tail Strike. And here he is compared next to NECA's Battle Damage Gypsy Danger. So overall with the Legendary Godzilla, I still think he turned out really good. I love the take that they did with him and making him a little bit more their own and not quite screen accurate to the film. It gives them a nice differentiation with all the other Godzilla 2014 figures out there in the market. And with them releasing the alternate version of the Godzilla 2000 Millennium, and me really enjoying having that thing in my collection because it's just a nice differentiation between all the other 2000 Millennium figures that I have. And this figure is no less different than that for the Legendary Godzilla. So I personally think he's been worth it, but if you're looking for a more screen accurate Godzilla, there are better versions of this character out there, with the 24-inch long version of the NECA Godzilla 2014 being what I would call the definitive version of the character. But I still think that the SH MonsterArts version is definitely a great piece to add to anyone's collection. So which one do you guys think is better, the SH or the NECA? Do you guys like the changes that they did to the character, or do you think they should have just left it alone? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have closer pictures on Facebook. You want to click the link description below. Please don't be afraid to share this video around, and if you like this and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. And for his tail, pretty much your standard SH MonsterArts fare with seeing it pop off.